issues in the judiciary, the president urging them to uphold the justice system and ensure that Nigerians, the confidence that Nigerians have in, they don't lose the confidence that Nigerians have in them. My guest this morning is Professor Yusuf Tanko, who is a professor of law at Ahmadu Bello University, joining us this morning. Thank you so much for being here or being with us, Professor Tanko.
Thank you very much. Good morning to you and good morning to all our listeners.
Okay, you too can be a part of the conversation when we open up the phone lines. Keep the numbers close, 090-7353-0044 and 090-87668888. Professor Dakofa, let's start by asking, how did the news of the resignation of Justice Tanko Mohammed, meet you?
You see, life itself is unpredictable. As we go, so many things can happen. Pursuant to the fact that he resigned on health grounds, I think that was statesmanly, very unprecedented. Most of our public officers hardly do that. They would rather die in the office or use the office to seek for medication. So I think what Justice Tanko Mohammed did is very remarkable, and we wish him speedy recovery, we wish him good health, but that is the hallmark, of a true personality. It's unusual in this climate. In other countries, people resign based on certain conviction, or certain moral grounds. For example, we've seen a parliamentarian in the UK who resigned because while proceedings were going on, he was watching porn movies. He was caught and he resigned on that moral ground. In the US, a legislator too resigned when he sent a nude picture of his to a lady, and it became a subject of public outcry, and he resigned. So we see that often in advanced economy, in advanced countries, but here it's not really part of our feature. You could see former British Prime Minister, resigned for re-election when he couldn't push through his Brexit agenda. That is Mr. Cameron. But in Africa, especially Nigeria, where we have this sit-tight syndrome by our leaders, is really unusual. It's a very strange phenomenon for leaders to resign based on moral grounds, based on health grounds, and based on ideological conviction. So we must applaud the former Chief Justice for laying a very good precedent, giving us a good template that other leaders might probably emulate. That indeed, life is ephemeral. What you need before you can perform is a good health, sound health, and if that thing is failing you, you need to resign from public responsibilities and be able to go and look after your health, because it's very impossible or very difficult for any public officer to discharge his responsibility when he has health challenges. We could see, and that is why people continue to criticize the Buhari administration that indeed the president ought to have resigned, or why people are asking Siwaju Tinubu not to come into the fray, because from what people can deduce, from what people can make up from his actions, from his physical outlook, he's having some health challenges, and I should rather go and seek for a better health than come into the political system with this kind of portfolio and responsibility, and probably continue to spend more time abroad seeking for medical intervention than responsibility. So indeed, there's what you call leadership with responsibility, which is not really a feature of the African political mentality. And that is the context in which we will continue to applaud Mr. Tanko Mohammed, CGN, former CGN, for taking up the gauntlet and being courageous enough to do that. Is a selling point to all our public officers that they must emulate. It's a selling point that if you cannot discharge your responsibility due to ill health or you are being hampered by not good health, there is no. It shows nationalism. So I think Justice Mohammed is a nationalist, a rare breed, a rare nationalist, and he will continue to be remembered in history as a man of valor, as a man of merit, as a man of.
A coincidence that just about a week after 14 justices of the Supreme Court wrote a protest letter.
Outlandish discourse. We want to continue to keep people engaged when it comes to national discourse. As a matter of fact, we like promoting the mundane rather than, the real critical issue. In any institutions, there are bound to be challenges. Any institutions, there are bound to be challenges. People are likely going to have, about how things are being run, especially when it comes to their welfare. So yes, I have no problem with what the justices have done and making it formal and sending it to the CJ as their head of the head in the judiciary. And I agree that even their emoluments, is not respectable enough. The Court of Appeal equally mentioned that they are, grossly underpaid, and this is not good for motivation. It is not good for commitment. They are mentioned in the response that yes, they have been given some cars, even though the argument has been that the cars are not brand new cars. But I think also that yes, even if the problems are to them, his colleagues. So I will not infer should have that kind of exposure, foreign training, so that they can be exposed to.
And he could not give a response to it. And I must tell you, that Prince, that in recent times, anytime that you see that people want to sign a petition, you will see them going on tribal agenda, on religious agenda. But this time around, the judges, wherever they came from, they sign it.
Well, the Chief Justice responded to their letter, if you've been following the story. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Anacho.
Good morning.
How are you, sir?
I'm very well.
My name is Engineer Femi. Good morning to your guest.
Engineer Femi, good to have you. Let's hear you, please.
Yeah. Must come.
We can't take the
Let's spice up your day. Tune in to a breath of fresh air. It's all fun and games until it gets extra and better. 102.3 Extra, weekdays 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. with Oli J. Cheers to something new.
Has anyone told you you can talk about your business on radio for just 15,000 naira? Get a chance to talk your business for 25 minutes on The Entrepreneur. Mondays to Fridays, 3 p.m. on Eagles 102.3 FM, Abuja. For more inquiries, 090-9984-4433. The Entrepreneur. Talk your business for just 15,000 naira. This promo runs from May 1st to July 30th. Hurry now.
Eagles Morning Rise. Eagles Morning Rise with
Natural Prince.
All right, keep the conversation going. This is Eagles Outlook on your radio experience. You can count on. We're talking about the resignation of the former Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Tanko Mohammed, GCON, and, the acting position held by Justice Olukayode Ariwoola. as it is, our callers have put forward some concerns. Some people say we need to probe the allegations. One of the allegations in that letter, seeming allegation, is that the former Chief Justice had organized for himself and his family, and to travel abroad and get some of these trainings that the other justices should have gotten, and all. And it seems like the justices didn't just want to put across that there were financial misappropriations of the MBA letter on the resignation of the former Chief Justice. An excerpt from it says, "It is, however, impossible to consider his lordship retirement in isolation of the recent unprecedented developments at the Supreme Court, where 14 justices of the court censured an issues. Beyond this, there is near universal agreement that public confidence in the judiciary and indeed the legal profession is at all-time low. There is now more than ever the need for an urgent reforms in the judiciary and to rebuild the almost dilapidated confidence that Nigerians have in the judiciary and the wider legal profession in Nigeria. This should form the immediate first task for Honorable Justice Olukayode Ariwoola, who is expected to now take over as acting Chief Justice of Nigeria." Now, with this, Professor Tanko, how would you react to the NBA and many other Nigerians saying that the confidence of Nigerians in the judiciary? Some people go justice, looking at how former Justice Onogan was removed based on certain allegations, and some of these allegations are also coming up now as against the former Chief Justice. What are your thoughts on these?
You see, you have muddled up so many questions. One, the issue of allegation through what the NBA and other, stakeholders tend to feel about it, and also the assumption that there's a nexus between, the protest letter and his resignation. You see, like I said, fatalism, in order to create a crime. To start with, anybody can be investigated, provided that person does not have immunity. Even now, with immunity, you can be investigated, but you cannot be prosecuted. So I agree, anybody can be investigated. Prima facie case, can be seen. He's not just trying to fish for people's fault. Indeed, his colleagues in the Supreme Court wrote a memo to him, alleging sundry issues. And he replied, there are internal mechanisms in the judiciary that can first and foremost resolve issues. You have the agency, which can be, some of these issues can be taken from agency. Of course, the chairman, the CJN, the chairman, he can step aside for issues to be looked into. So I will not go into the normal Nigerian fatalistic frenzy that because his colleagues have accused him of, sidelining them by not taking them abroad for, international conferences, while he takes himself and his wives, these are still within the realms of accusation. And I will not just, on the face of it, hold him to that. And he has responded that, look, some of you have gone, and it's rotational. It's rotational. So we must be careful in trying to, assess. And essentially, what they are saying is, look, in our houses, there's some level of dilapidation, resources are not there, we don't have internet facilities or resources to research. Some of our colleagues who are just running don't have official cars. The issue of training, their houses. So the entire, demand is centered on this. And there is no way it is categorically alleged that he has misappropriated money. What they're saying is that, appropriation of resources, especially for that of international conferences, has not been done correctly. But beyond that, I thought, you see, that's why there's a failure of governance in this country. For every ministry, for every department, you have an audit system. So auditors don't do their work. If we have a system that flourishes, where auditors do their work, you want to understand, and they send their report periodically. It was the audit report that is an eyebrow in the Nigerian Port Authority saga, in which the House of Representatives took up. Look at the issue of the Accountant General of the Federation. You begin to wonder, is there no yearly or mid-yearly audit report? So it's because our system don't work. That's what gives room to every Tom, Dick, and Harry, believing that with some minor, inaction, everything becomes a crime. Now, if the audit system in this country, especially at the level of bureaucracy, functions very well, it will have solved a lot of problems. Nigerians will be oppressed with the position of accountability in this country, especially public accountability. So it's a failure, it's a systemic failure. And that is why the reforms that we keep agitating must be genuine reforms. We saw the reforms in the energy sector is genuine. In this year alone, the national grid has packed up 6 times. We saw the reforms where the energy administration, was sublet to the private sector. And see what is happening today. The opposition administration took up on the judiciary in 1999. That was the judicial sector reform, just the justice sector reforms. So I agree that the justice sector has its own internal contradictions, considerations.
Very well. Prof, we'd love to make this. Okay, go ahead, please.
For example, President Buhari, tried to give an executive order that says, national resources, but state government continue to antagonize this. So you see, the Nigerian state is confused about how to move this country forward, even where the constitution and the laws are clear. They're supposed to be an independent and self-accounting part of government under the doctrine of separation of powers. That their finances should not come through, especially the state high court, through the state government and the federal ministry. It should be charged directly, to the national resources, so as to give them, so as to insulate them from external independence. They will go cap in hand begging. It's fundamental reform. It's being frustrated. It's being aborted, which is even wicked in the Constitution. Then, the emolument of judges, the Wage Commission has been sleeping. The National Wage Commission has been sleeping. No Nigerian justice, even at the Supreme Court, gets 1 million naira every year as salary. And yet, you overpay the docile and incompetent parliamentarians that hardly add value to the Nigerian state. So look at the country where justices of the highest level are undervalued, underpaid, and nothing is being done, and they can't come out. So essentially, the reform we need is much more fundamental than what these respected justices are seeking for. It's much more fundamental.
Okay. Prof, would love to link this with the 2023 elections. Some people say, oh, the 2023 elections are around the corner, and the new CJN, as a new sheriff in town, would ensure, because the speculations, predictions that the 2023 elections may likely end up in court, and if that happens, the new sheriff in town would be in charge, and that would mean that, there should be some level of transparency at the Supreme Court. Some other people have the reservations, saying, well, the current acting Chief Justice was one of those who was on the bench, who sat during the hearings for the Hope Uzodinma case in Imo State, the Supreme Court's ruling that brought Hope Uzodinma and made him the governor of Imo State. For them, they have reservations as regards the competence and, the way that the elections would play out. Before you respond to that, I'd love to read a message here from Chooks. And Chooks says, super excellent morning to you, Iheanacho. And some people, they opine that he is simply complicated. He simply completed the assignment he was given to execute. But let us still commend him for behaving honorably. Kindly give us biodata of his successor. Okay, Chooks, thank you very much. Now, Professor Dankofa, what would you say regarding, the concerns that people have going into the 2023 elections and the judiciary?
Well, yes, as it is in other institutions, people have their concerns, and of an organ of social control, it's especially the final court, the Supreme Court. Whatever its decision is, remains final. It can override a statute. So, but to me, I think those fears at times can be misplaced. Because when you have a full sitting of the Supreme Court, you are talking of a 7-man appeal, 7-man committee, 7-man panel. The full panel of the Supreme Court is 7-man, beyond the other panel of 5. So when you have this kind of arrangement, where you have odd numbers, it's we're human beings, When it comes to human nature, of course, there can be no perfection. But I think that it is highly unlikely for a panel of 7 to be compromised, to be partisan. Because you have to have a majority to win a case. So, what I would simply advocate is for the judges to realize that they occupy a very important place in our democratization process. And that the moment they recognize their role as the last hope of the common man, they should be able to do what is right or what is wrong. But I will not come here and castigate any judge because I don't have proof. And the issue of Uzodinma, you see, where a majority has given decision, a majority, we know that either you feel it is based on perverse consideration of the law or not, it stands. But looking at the philosophy is something else. Look at what is unfolding in the United States today. The Supreme Court, abrogated the anti-abortion law. And the liberalists are all over the place, castigating, throwing aspersions. We see judges too are human beings, and at times they are